It's time to discuss about drug-eluting and drug-eluting balloons, Paclitaxel versus Sirolimus, where we are. This is my disclosure. So let's start looking at the info, at the data we have. This is the research I did yesterday. This is the way I did the research, Sirolimus and peripheral arterial disease, and Paclitaxel and peripheral arterial disease. So we can clearly see that we have a big amount of papers talking about Paclitaxel compared to a very small amount of papers talking about Sirolimus. So much more data available for Paclitaxel, for sure. Again, another research, Sirolimus and CLI, and Paclitaxel and CLI, and more or less the same. 3 times the number of papers talking about Paclitaxel compared to Sirolimus. So again, much more data talking about Paclitaxel. This is the research about to search to see if we have some head-to-head, and I said no head-to-head data, no randomized controlled trials comparison in peripheral arterial disease. But yesterday I discovered there is one. You can see the first one. So let's try to go a bit in deep. This is a trial, is an ongoing trial, and this is a preliminary result of just 6 patients. So I still believe we don't have data. We don't have any comparison between Paclitaxel and Sirolimus in peripheral arterial disease. 6 patients represent nothing, no data available. So still must wait to have the final results of this trial as well as for any other trial. But we have some papers, unfortunately very difficult to read because it's in German, talking about Sirolimus and the new standard in treatment of PAD. It's a randomized control trial comparing Paclitaxel and Sirolimus that conclude that Paclitaxel can perform better compared to Paclitaxel. Unfortunately, I was not able to read the paper, as I said, because this is in German. What about Paclitaxel? In the past, we have been discussing about the increased risk of late mortality. This was for sure completely proved that it's not real, so not any risk of late mortality using Paclitaxel. The apparent cause of death were compared with other DCBs, with PTA and with drug-eluting stent, and there was no any apparent pattern of cause of death using Paclitaxel eluting devices. Patterns of adverse event, again, no apparent patterns of adverse event using Paclitaxel. So today we can for sure believe that Paclitaxel perform as an efficient therapy without risk for our patients. This is the mortality risk ratio created by multiple meta-analysis, but independent randomized data and by observational data. And you can clearly, finally, see that there is no risk for late mortality using Paclitaxel in peripheral arterial disease patients. So we can fully exclude this, and we don't need to go in deep during the discussion about the risk of mortality using Paclitaxel, but the situation today is to try to understand if Sirolimus perform better or not. What about Sirolimus? We pretty well know that there is some needs to address technological challenges related to the use of limus. It's difficult to get limus to enter in the artery, so we need to use dedicated transfers to transfer the drug from the balloon to the tissue efficiently. It's difficult to maintain the drug retention, so we need, or the companies need to change the time release mechanism, and it's important because this is what emerged from some Paclitaxel devices. It's important to limit the drug embolization. So some companies have been working about this technology and create what we can call new technology. This is specifically for solution from Cordis. And they have a technology dedicated for this that make solution and Sirolimus eluting balloon actually a good technology and efficient technology. So the cell adherent technology that enhance the drug transfer efficiency and the micro reservoirs that sustain the drug release. So finally, the problem from the technical perspective to use Sirolimus seems to be solved with a specific technology, and we already have today a balloon that perform efficiently in peripheral arterial disease to release Sirolimus as a drug for anti-inflammatory situation. What are the big difference between Paclitaxel and Sirolimus? Paclitaxel is a cytotoxic drug that could create some problems in the long-term follow-up compared to Sirolimus, that is a cytotactic drug that inhibit the cell migration without kill the cells. So this is the biggest difference between both, and seems that Sirolimus could be effective and efficiently reducing any risk for the health of the patients. The first conclusion, no DCB class effect. So when we talk about DCB, we must to consider that any one of them is different, even if they use the same drug, because the transfer and the technology is different between each company, and this can create a really important difference in the result and in the follow-up using different balloons. The most important point to underline in terms of technical use is to reduce, as I said, the distal embolization using the balloons and reduce what we call the slow flow phenomenon that seems to be present with some Paclitaxel balloons and seems to be not present with Sirolimus balloon. So in conclusion, more data are needed for sure about Sirolimus and head-to-head comparisons. We don't have any comparison head-to-head. We don't have any conclusion about randomized controlled trial from both. We need a comparative trials between Paclitaxel and Sirolimus. For sure, Paclitaxel showed to be effective and efficient in the FEM-POP and not in BTK. We can remember the Medtronic impact DEB that was retired from the market related to some issues during the trial in BTK, but it's clear the effectiveness of Paclitaxel balloons in the FEM-POP segment. And the question, and still an open question, and this is the question for the discussion, can Sirolimus perform better in FEM-POP as well as in BTK? Actually, we really don't know because we don't have data. Thank you.